What's up,
Everything
Scott?
live is good.
Yeah, everything live is good. You liable to see anything on here. So yeah, let's give this introduction. It's amazing to me. And this just lets you know. This just talk about how God works. Is like I met Mr. Beard this Sunday at Sugar Jam, and we were having a time. I looked over, him and his wife was having a time, and I've always talked about energies and frequencies, and the law of attraction is simple. Good energies attract. And I'm looking over, and Mr. Beard is just sitting back, just chilling, and his wife is just, just having a time, and you could tell he just had, back surgery, right?
Yes.
Back surgery, so he couldn't move how he wanted to move, but I saw the foot tapping. And I was like, okay. And so a song came on, and I saw this couple and on the dance floor dancing, and I motioned over to her. I said, "Hey, y'all should get on the floor and dance." And she motioned back at me and was like,
and no hips.
So that let me know, like, okay, me and Mr. Beard shared similar stories when it comes to our health. This game that we love, we've given so much to it, and it took a little bit back from us.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah,
yes, it did.
Just the wear and tear. So the amazing thing is, like I said, we connected with energy and everything else, and everything was all uphill from there. They shared with me that they had just moved here, or in the process of moving here. They're going back shortly to close out. But without any further ado, let me introduce a 10-year veteran in the NBA, won a championship. Was it Golden State's first championship?
Golden State's first in '75.
In '75, I'm gonna hand the floor over. I'm gonna let him talk about himself and what he has going on. But today's topic is I'm super excited about. I'm super excited about it. Y'all that know me, that whenever we get a chance to talk about not just history but Black history and where it all started, and then to have the pleasure to have a pioneer in the building is I'm excited, y'all. But without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Let's call him by his government name, Mr. Alfred Butch Beard.
Oh, that's too much, Tim. That is too much. I mean, you made my mother proud.
See,
hey, there it is.
There you go.
You made my mother proud, okay? Tim, I'm just a little country boy from Kentucky. Went to the University of Louisville back in the 60s. As a matter of fact, Wes Unseld, some basketball people would probably have heard of that name and know who it is.
If you don't know who Wes Unseld is, I'm pulling your basketball card.
He and I were roommates for 3 years at the University of Louisville. Okay.
Oh wow.
And as I like to say that Wes probably changed U of L's brand as we know it now, because if he hadn't shown up, it wouldn't be the brand that it is now.
Oh wow.
See, we are pioneers in this sense. At that particular time, most schools were segregated, and the University of Kentucky wanted Wes Unseld or Butch Beard to break the color barrier in the state of Kentucky and play in the SEC. He turned down Kentucky in '64. I turned it down in '65, and we went to the University of Louisville. So I like to think that we might have had something to do with that brand.
Yeah. I would say so. Talk about a little bit of what it was like back then breaking through, because definitely segregation was going on at that time. What was it like from an athlete standpoint?
It was different in the fact that in high school, I guess I was called everything but the Son of God.
Mm.
And that was before we even played. That was doing warm up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
So I can relate this story to you in '65, my senior year in high school. Adolph Rupp at the University of Kentucky really tried as hard as he could to recruit me to be the first black in the SEC. I'll never forget, he came to our house and he told all these stories about going down south and how much the University of Kentucky is hated and and people didn't they didn't like the Kentucky Wildcats. And then my mother, who really only had a 5th grade education, she says, well, Mr. Rupp, can you promise me that you can keep my son safe in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee? And he says, oh, Miss Beard, I'll take care of that boy. Okay, so when he walked out of the house, you know what she said? You're not going there.
Yeah, because that answer wasn't real confident.
I don't trust him.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
So that's how I ended up at the University of Louisville.
Now,
1 year later after West.
Your choice Kentucky? Was it Kentucky? Then mom helped you make your mind up to go to Louisville, or how did that work?
I always say that the University of Louisville recruited my mother before they recruited me.
Mm.
Okay, they already had her. Now I have an aunt who is one of the first African American females to graduate from Northwestern in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
She came down for the visit, and when he walked out, she says, well, us Beards can do anything. We can withstand, we can be the first in everything. And I said, Aunt Thelma, that's good to hear, but I'll be the only one that they'll be throwing things at.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So that's where we were in the whole scheme of things, And it was so interesting during that time that I had to go through a lot to make a decision just to play basketball at the college level. And I'm glad I chose the University of Louisville, but it was quite a process.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. It makes you think about everything that we go through today, and it kind of sums it up to where we ain't really had to deal with much. We don't, in this day and age, we didn't really have to deal with too much, and the wherewithal and the mental fortitude that you guys had to have when knowing that even when your home games include people in the crowd that don't like you because of the color of your skin. You're playing for their team, but they really don't like you.
Tell me about it.
And that's a different kind of pressure.
You want to know how the times were back then? In the 7th grade, we had a 7th and 8th grade team, basketball team. We had this young coach that had come to. Kentucky is made of counties, and I played at Breckenridge County, one of 127 counties in the state of Kentucky. And he came there in the 7th and 8th grade, and it was a group of us, young black guys, along with a couple of white guys, that we played together from when I was in the 7th grade up until I was a senior in high school. But when I was in the 7th grade, he says, you guys are going to be pretty good. So he used to take us all over the state of Kentucky when I was in the 7th and 8th grade and play. Well, I had an aunt who worked for one of my teammates, and we were raising money to go on a trip Christmas time. And so I go and I knock on the door. We were selling cards or something. I tend to forget. And my teammate's mother said, don't you ever knock on my front door again. You always come to the back.
Oh.
So I made it a point from that day on that I would never pass the ball to him while I played.
Your mom killed it for you.
Yeah, and I didn't, and I had this conversation with my high school coach who passed away last year, and he said, "Why didn't you come and tell me?" I said, "You had enough to deal with because you started 4 black kids in a time when four black kids would never been starting in 1963-64 in high school."
That's crazy. Who is there anything based on what you went through back then? Is there any regrets?
No, it made me a better person. Made me a stronger man, and it made me more determined to at least try to succeed, because I come from a little country town of 1,400 people. When I left, it was 1399. Okay,
that one moved in,
and we had only one stoplight, and that was to get in and out of the little town. You know what I'm saying? So it put me in a situation where I wanted out. And it was through, as my high school coach told me, he says, "You have enough ability to get a college education." So my junior year, we go to the state tournament in Kentucky and we lose to West Unsel's team. And we come back my senior year and we win it. So a little school, probably 480 kids in the whole school, you know what I'm saying? We were able to pull something off that you don't normally see. You know, the movie Hoosiers, you see that? Well, that was us.
Mm-hmm.
That was us in the 60s. I'm telling you now.
Oh, wow.
That was us, okay? Because we pulled something off that nobody had ever seen before.
And especially in Kentucky, like,
Tell me
there's
about it.
very few states that are basketball states. I know everybody's trying to claim different states as basketball states, but Kentucky is a basketball state.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
it's a basketball state. And if you're able to succeed in Kentucky in basketball, because I think they birth basketball players. Like, you come out of birth. Matter of fact, in the delivery room, they put the basketball in your baby crib.
Oh, they're trying, and you're totally right, because in most states there are classes: Class A, Class B, Class C, whatever, Double A. Kentucky doesn't matter. Size of school doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't matter.
Has that since changed?
No. That's the beauty
Oh,
of it.
wow.
That's the reason why what we pulled off in '64 and in '65. We were runners up in '64, then turned around in '65, and we won the state tournament. It will never be accomplished again. And I said,
Wow.
The only reason why that happened is that Butch Beard in 1964 was a good player, but in 1965, Butch Beard was a hell of a player. Okay, so that made the difference in our ball club.
Uh-huh. Wow, that is, you learn something new every day. Like, every place that I've ever been, even for me, they had classes. 1, 2, 3, 6. I was class 6A, which typically is the standard where it's the most competitive basketball, and the better basketball players play in that division. And like he was saying, the size of your school determines, what level or what class you play in. And I couldn't imagine like a 1A school competing against a 6A school.
Oh, wow.
And that's in essence what it was, because
Yes.
if we had to put them in class, Unsal's school would have been like a 6A, right?
Look, you see my size, 6'4", at best. Okay, I was probably 6'3", 145, 50 pounds. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I go against West Unsel. That's the biggest player I've ever gone against in my life. And he had another teammate that was 6'9", and they beat us. They beat us by 10. My junior year, and then my senior year we come back, and we win the state title. We win it going away.
Oh, wow. Now, has your alma mater, that high school, has it won a state championship since?
They did 30 years later. I was coaching.
Wow.
I was coaching the New Jersey Nets. I got a phone call from one of my former teammates. He says, "Guess what?" He said, "Breckenridge County just won the state tournament."
Oh, wow.
And I said,
Oh.
"It only took them 30 years to do it." I
Yeah.
said, "But they didn't go back to back."
There you go.
This is
there it
true.
is.
I never knew that about, and it's crazy because when I was in the military, I was stationed with a guy, Chris Rafferty. He still lives there. He is from Elizabethtown.
Hello, that's 45 miles southwest of where I was born.
Yeah, he took me back. We went on a leave. We took some time off, went on a leave, and he was like, we went to his hometown in Kentucky, and that was the first time that I had ever had deer meat.
Whoa.
The first time I ever had deer meat, and I fell in love with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elizabethtown that's not a very big town either.
E-Town is what they call it.
Oh, E-Town. Okay, they got a hook.
E-Town.
E-Town in the house.
Now you're a true Kentuckian.
Okay,
Okay.
E-Town.
Okay.
That's how. It's little things that let you know if somebody has either spent time in a place or if they're from a place.
Right.
It's like Kool-Aid. What's your favorite Kool-Aid? If they say red,
Red with a bunch of sugar.
but if they say strawberry,
Oh my gosh.
no,
Come on,
man.
man.
Nah, you don't.
Man.
You didn't grow up on Kool-Aid if you say
Man.
strawberry.
Not at all.
You ain't
It's
getting
red and purple.
Let me tell you, you
You're
ain't
right. You're right.
Yeah. You. It's just certain things that give that let
gives
you
it away.
that gives
Yeah.
it away. Gives it away. So your transition from high school to basketball, during those times, how different was it?
Well, after, in my case, I wanted to be competitive in the classroom and also on the basketball court. So I come from a family on my father's side of nothing but educators. I told you about my aunt who was one of the first to graduate from Northwestern. I had another aunt who taught me for the first 7th grade of my life in a little bitty school where she taught me my first 7th grades.
Oh wow.
So when the schools integrated, she says, "Go make me proud."
Okay.
For all the
okay.
kids, go make
There you
me
go.
proud. Okay? And so that was something that we wanted to do, was make sure that we got a decent education, and I used that as a tool to get me, a college education. I actually did study when I was at university.
That's more than I can say for me.
Come on now.
I literally, without sports, I maintain decent to good grades because of sports.
Right.
That was I wasn't a school person. Sports was my motivation. I was kind of bored with school. School was kind of boring for me. I didn't have, and you had the motivation of having the educators. So you grew up with education being a critical point, a critical part of your life. Where for me, growing up where I grew up, in Peoria, Illinois, blue collar town as yours was, it's like education wasn't something that was at the top of our priority. But yet still, it was always an endeavor to get out, to make it out. But we looked at, Caterpillar Tracting Company and Archer Daniel Midland, and those different blue collar jobs you didn't have to have an education for. And so education wasn't a big part of it, but I don't ever have regrets But that's the one thing that I wish I would have done educational wise is really applied myself more. And I, like I said, I don't have any regrets about anything in my life, whether good or bad. Because we talked about this the other day, is I firmly believe everything happens for a reason.
Right.
But yeah, I always have that thing like, man, if I applied myself, because I was recruited, I was heavily recruited out of high school, all state, all league, all area in basketball, and because I didn't apply myself when it came time for the SATs, I didn't do well on the SATs, so I had to go the JUCO route.
Yeah, but see, we only found out later on some people don't test as good as others.
Yeah, that was my problem.
See?
I could, the application part of it, I was good with. It's just when it came to testing, even now, I still put a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to testing.
Yeah.
You could tell me to go out and physically do the job or whatever that is. We can verbally talk about it and I could talk you through anything.
Mm-hmm.
But to put it on paper and it be a test, oh yeah.
Yeah. So some people didn't test, some people don't test as good as others. Now, in your situation, I know where Peoria is. So you know, I know where that is too. You looked at Caterpillar and, you know, the little companies that were around you. Well, I can get a job there. In my situation, it was farmland. And the last damn thing I wanted to do was a farmer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I had an uncle who grew tobacco, and I used to help him in the summertime, and he'd sell the tobacco around Christmas and everything, you know. And I got a decent amount of money, but I said, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. So that's the reason why I said, I got to get out of here, because I can't be a farmer. And my father was a mechanic, and he used to stick my head up under the hood of a car, and I said, nah, that grease up under my fingernails, nah,
that ain't what I want to do.
I can't do that either.
So yeah, your choices for you was limited.
Yes, very limited.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, we talk about Black history and the importance of it. We've had a few segments where, you know, we talk about how important it is for us to not only know our Black history, but also pass it down to the future generations. That's getting more and more difficult with our current leadership because they're trying to wipe out our history. Do you feel like, based on what you have been through in the past, that you feel like you may have an obligation because you were there to help promote the Black history, or is it just something that should come natural based on what you've been through?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it should come natural, and I think I have an obligation. The thing that I'm most proud of is that I worked at two historical Black institutions, Howard University and Morgan State.
Okay.
I took Howard University to the NC2A tournament in 1992. I inherited a group of young men that had won 3 ball games in 2 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And I walked on campus and I said, you know, we're going to go to the NC2A tournament. They looked at me like I was crazy. And I probably was at the time because I was young. Okay? But I took 12 young men, and like I always like to say, I got blood out of a turnip. I've never pushed a group of young men so hard in all my life to accomplish a goal. And first I had to do what? Is deprogram them.
Yeah, we talked about that.
To program them to do it the right way. Okay? And so a lot of, during that time when I was at Howard, a lot of people used to say, well, I saw Coach Beard on his way over to the administration building. He must be on it. He's got his head down. He must be on his way to go see the president.
He's on a mission.
Yes, so that's what I did. You know, I talked to him about certain things, and I said, look, and I said, his name was Dr. Jennifer. I said, when I come to you, that means I really need something in order to do what I promised I would do for you, is get to the NC2A tournament. and he supported me. Those young men kicked in after 2 years. After 2 years, we go to the NC2A tournament. And I'm telling you, it was funny. Those young men still believe in me today. We have a conversation, we talk. They're grown men now, and they are doing well. A majority of them are doing well. And I had some health issues, and they showed up at my hospital.
Oh wow.
Okay, the word got out there, and they showed up at my hospital, okay, at my room. And my wife Lisa said, "What the hell is going on?" They were there because they said, you know, without you, we probably wouldn't have done what we have done.
Mm-hmm.
Even my manager, he works for NBA Entertainment. He's an executive producer. Been there for now over 30 years.
Oh wow.
My trainer is a highly successful heart surgeon in Detroit. As she says, Coach Beard, I'm telling you now, we all thought you were crazy, but without what you did for us, we never would be where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So that I feel really good about, and knowing that I did have some impact upon some young men and women. And so did I do my job? Yes, and I'm still trying to do more though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you still have to let them know how hard it is to be successful in this country. All right? We get distorted, especially in sports and in basketball, is when we watch TV and they show us LeBron James or Kobe when he was alive, or Michael Jordan. And every kid says, "Oh man, I want to be like him." Oh, they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to go and spend hours and hours, you know, trying to, you know, get that skill together, then you may have a chance.
Yeah.
And that's what is never preached to our young generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be preached to them.
Yeah.
Because nothing's given to you.
Yeah.
Nothing's given to you.
Yeah. And see, for me, you know, this is why, like, I love the interaction that I have with my loved ones, and Coach Phil Handy being one of them. I watch him up close and I watch him from afar, and he created a brand, and it's be your own GOAT.
Okay.
And I know he knows how impactful that is, but when we talk about our youth and they having these people that they put on these pedestals that they want to be like, the thing that I love about Phil is, like, he basically in essence tells our youth and really everyone is that you don't need to be like them. You need to be the best version of you. And if by chance being the best version of you leads to you being a comparison of the people that you admire, then that's good. So his brand is called Be Your Own GOAT.
Like it.
I absolutely love it.
like it.
I've been politicking to get more of his brand, and I think people we have a tendency to, when we see stuff, there's certain things about it we like. You know, we like the colors, we like how catchy it is, but sometimes you just have to listen to yourself say it and really get the true meaning of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Is you don't have to pick a goat. You can be your own GOAT. Why not?
Cause I'm a GOAT.
Because that's what Mike said. That's what Mike did. That's what Kobe did.
Yeah.
That's what LeBron did. That's what all of these people that we admire, and it doesn't have to even be in sports. They said, I'm gonna take pieces from the people that I admire, but the foundation of it is gonna be me. And so that's why it's important that, you know, especially for what you did, is sports is so relatable to life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, you know, during COVID, you know, I was cheering for them not to stop, you know, the games and all of that, because people, the analogy that people use as it pertains to life typically is sports. And so people vicariously live through sports, and it's a joy that people have when watching sports. And so, I myself was a coach in high school, and sometimes we don't realize how impactful we are on these kids, not just on the court, on the playing field, but because sports is so relatable to life, the things that we teach them on the court or on the field is so transferable to life. And that's what I thought about when you talked about the success of the kids that you coached in college and how successful they were, and you gave them a belief in themselves that they didn't even have for themselves. And so when you instill in that kind of belief into kids that didn't think that they could do something, for them to accomplish what they accomplished with the expectation of the people closest to them probably thought that they was crazy. Like, no, we ain't even had a winning season. How about first we win some games before you go all the way to the NCAA tournament? Let's win some games. And then to do what they did in those kids' hearts after they did that, there was nothing in life that they couldn't do.
Yeah, well, this is true because I have an assistant coach with the University of Pittsburgh. He was my point guard. Okay, he was also a head coach at Lehigh, and I went over and spent time with him, trying to help him. So these are the things that is important. You made me think of something. When we traveled, of course, commercially, and when we flew, I made them wear a sports jacket, a pair of slacks, and a shirt. Okay, I didn't like to do it myself, but I made them do it, and we did it. So I'll never forget, we were on a flight, and I think we were headed someplace west. We get to the baggage claim, and this guy comes up to me. He says, "Are you the coach of these guys?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "This is the best dressed college team I've seen in a long time." We're talking about in the 92 team that went to the NCAA tournament. And 5 years later, I get a call from one of my players, and you might know him. His name is Ronnie Gibbs. Got a job with Nike out at Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Okay? It just so happens that Ronnie Gibbs was sitting next to a Nike executive. He went in for an interview, and he says, "Oh, I see you, Howard." He said, Ronnie said, "Yes." He said, "I was on a plane with these guys, someplace in 92. He said, "What?" Ronnie said, "I was on that team." He said, "You got the job."
Wow. Wow.
So Ronnie Gibbs
Okay.
just moved on to something else last year. He was with Nike, okay? But it was just that in itself helped him to get in the door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
Because as Gibbs, he called me and said, "Hey, coach," he said, "I want to thank you." He said, "I didn't want to wear that sports jacket, but I guess it helped me out."
Yeah. Well, the saying goes, you get one time to make a first impression.
Yes.
And in that matter of time, the things that you say, your appearance, and how you carry yourself will leave either a positive or a negative. And so that's why, like, when I'm out and about and I see our kids sagging their clothes and doing these different things, I'm like, and the first thing that we talk about we say is like, well, I ain't trying to impress nobody. No, you're not trying to impress anybody, but you also don't want to buy into the expectation of what people expect from you
Or perceive you to be.
Yeah, they already have a perception of who you are and how you are, and all you're doing when you don't do it the right way, you're basically feeding that negative perception that they have of you. And so I've always stayed on my kids, and I talk to people all the time. It's like, You just need to make sure that any environment that you're in, that when you leave, people remember you being there in a positive way. Because you never know who's in the room.
Right.
You never know who's in the room. You never know who's watching you. And so that's why it's important, especially as blacks, for us to carry ourselves a certain way, because there is a perception. And I'm not saying that we don't sometimes feed that negative perception in how we act and how we carry ourselves, but it's important to where we got to understand that how people perceive you is just not you. You're carrying a whole culture on your back. Because that one view of you could change the whole view of how they view everybody that looks like you. And I feel like if we take that on and we think of things in that aspect and understand that we're not just representing ourselves, we're representing our community, our culture. And so that's why it's so important for me that I don't live my life on a straight and narrow, but I'm mindful of the things that I do. I'm mindful of the places that I go. I'm mindful of how I just in generally carry myself. And I don't consider myself a big figure or important figure, but I know all it takes is that one interaction, either negative or positive.
Yes. And the most important thing is to make sure that you give the kids today an opportunity to see the positive side of you. Because you don't know if you have, gotten his interest or not. You just never know. So as far as being an older black man, I do my best to make sure that the kids understand how to deal with the world today. I tell them all the time, I'm not against you wearing, your pants down to your knees and everything else, but somewhere along the line, you're gonna have to go in and you're gonna have to have an interview with somebody, and you're not gonna get a job that way. And they'll say, most of them will say, well, look at so and so on the bench. He's dressed this way. Yeah, he's got his money. Okay? He has the right to do what he's doing because he's got his money. You don't have your money. Okay? Now, when you get your money, now you can make a decision to do whatever you want to do, okay, with your clothing. So, up until then, there is a certain way that you have to present yourself in order to survive in the day.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I'm so thankful of our pioneers and what they went through. Is you guys went through things so we don't have to go through the exact things that you went through. But that doesn't take the responsibility away from us in what we have to do to carry that mantle. And I think we forget about everything that our pioneers went through, because when I look at our current leaders, we're not doing our job. We're not doing our job in the black community. We're not doing our job as leaders. And I think we're so concerned with being a part of something.
Yeah.
We so feel like we need to be accepted, and we want to be accepted by people that don't look like us. And so that keeps us from really diving into these important matters as it pertains to the black community and doing what we need to do. Because when I think about our pioneers, they took risks that honestly the majority of our current leaders wouldn't take.
That's right.
No.
And it's they risk their freedom. They risk their lives. They risk the lives of their family members to speak up against things that were wrong. And if that doesn't put a weight on your shoulder to feel like you need to do something, I don't know what will. And the other thing that I don't like is I don't like that we don't make our pioneers a priority in everything that we do. The reason why I say that is that we shouldn't have any of our athletes, previous pioneering athletes that have played the game. And this is a whole nother story for. They should be the forefront when we talk about the faces of sports. They should be the faces of sports. I really feel like
Because they paved the way.
because they paved the way.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk about a LeBron without talking about a Butch Beard. You can't talk about a Michael Jordan without talking about a Wes Unseld.
Right.
You can't talk about a Shaq without talking about Bill Russell. For as much as you talk about those modern day players, you should equally be talking about the pioneers. These youngsters should know. It should be a part of basketball education that you understand where this game came from, who the pioneers were, and what they did for the game, that make it to where you can enjoy the game that you love today.
I like
And
that.
there needs to be a push for that, because I love the game, so that's what keeps me in touch with the rich history of the game. But there's a lot of guys out here. There's guys that are in the playoffs right now. That if you ask them about a Butch Reed, if you ask them about certain players that played back then, they don't know who they are. Why?
Well, they don't have any idea how they got to where they've gotten to, and the sacrifice that was made for them, to get there. I'll give you an example. In the '75 Warriors, when we won the championship, we were coached by an all-black staff. Al Attles, Joe Roberts. First time that an all-black staff won an NBA title.
Wow. That's history of itself.
I think has it been done since?
No.
I don't think it has been done since.
No.
NBA does not recognize the 1975 Golden State Warriors because of that. I think we went against the Washington Wizards, or Bullets at that time. Casey Jones and Bernie Bickerstaff, two black men, were the head coach of that team. So that in itself, see, what we see now in the NBA started back in '75. There was a quota for black players on basically every team in the NBA when I came into the NBA. There was a quota of how many black players you would have. Now you have all black rosters, but you don't have very many black coaches.
That's doing too. They look at that. That's doing too much.
Okay,
now we're gonna give you the black players because that's entertainment for us.
Yes, but I was once a head coach in the NBA. I coached the New Jersey Nets in the '90s. Okay, and Willis Reed gave me an opportunity to be the head coach. All right, I got one opportunity alone. All right, and in some ways, I get upset over the fact that nobody else gave me a chance after I got fired, and I see guys now, with 2, 3, 4 different teams, getting jobs. All right. I know the reason why now they don't call me is because I'm an old man, but I do have something to offer. And for the NBA not to get in touch and say, hey, why don't you come and help us to evaluate some of the things that we're doing, see if you can help it to be a little bit better? Because not a lot of people are watching the sport that we're talking about. I just read today where Adam Silver said there were more people watching over the weekend, the playoffs, for the more people than 25 years ago. And I'm saying, wow. And I started to, go back and do a little homework. When we won the championship in '75, Tim, it was tape delayed. But we had more people watching our series then than the championship last year.
Oh wow! No wonder they try to do whatever they can to increase viewership because they know them numbers.
Yes,
they know those numbers. They keep tracking them numbers.
They know the numbers, okay?
And they know the more viewers, the more money.
Yeah.
Thank God for Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith and Shaq, because they make it fun to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, they really do. And sometimes they have very point opinions about how things are going. I understand the reason why, because want to make that money as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't want to upset anybody.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But they help. They help viewership a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The product has to get better. The kids have to understand that that's the way they make a living. It's just not a game. This is your livelihood. You have to get better every summer so that you can stay in the business. Otherwise, you're out. I get sick and tired of watching these guys hug each other after, especially in the playoffs. Hug each other, change jerseys and all this stuff. I'm saying, man, don't you know back in the day, it was a privilege to be in the playoffs because you didn't know if you were ever going to get in the following year. But now with 150 teams getting in, they think, well, I'll be in the playoffs next year. Won't be any,
I ain't really got to work too
there
hard.
There you go.
And plus, they added the play-in, so now teams that typically would have not seen the playoffs, they get an opportunity to get in the playoffs. So we live in a consolation era. Like, there's no more first, second, third. Now, I've never seen in sports where we give so much honor and respect for the people that just make it there.
Participate.
We give out so many participation
we give out honors
trophies.
for participation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the biggest one that comes to mind, and I know a lot of people ain't gonna like this. LeBron James. He is the only player in the history of game, in my opinion, that we give him accolades for just being there. We don't really talk about his record in the finals. We talk about how many consecutive finals that he made it to.
Which is hard now, Tim.
It is, but we also got to break down that he was playing in the East and they had the nickname the Leastern Conference.
This is true.
Which was historically the worst that the Eastern Conference had ever been.
That's true. I agree.
And so, and he was the first thing that came to mind when we talked about participation trophies. That's first. But it goes in line with when you were talking about, like, these guys just take for granted these moments like the playoffs, and it's just, that's the reason why is because we are in that participatory stage where, I'm just glad to be here. And like you said about the hugging and all of that, for me, what I loved about Kobe and Mike, I don't care what kind of relationship we got outside these lines, but when we get in these lines, I'm going at your neck.
Yeah.
And the level of respect so for me, when I hear past players and I'm associated and friends with a lot of those guys, there's a reverence that they have for MJ.
Yeah.
That there's a reverence that they have for Kobe.
Yes.
There's a reverence that they have for Bill Russell. There's a reverence that they have for Kareem. And it wasn't it was more so that they knew when that ball went in the air.
Didn't matter. Wes Unseld and I were roommates for 3 years at the University of Louisville. We get into the 75 championship series, Washington against Golden State. We nodded at each other in the warm-up line. Okay? How you doing? Just like that. Or, I'll see you after the game. After that, I hated him.
Yeah.
And he hated me. Seriously, it was just that simple. Now, when the game was over, it was okay.
Yeah.
But as far as, competing, you wanted to compete to win.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to talk a whole bunch of smack, hey, just go ahead and beat your brother. Go ahead and beat your friend.
Yeah.
Then you can talk all that.
Family, it's a friendly rivalry.
Dig it.
It's a friendly rivalry. If I was playing against my brother, look, I'm about to tear your head off.
There you go.
But I see you at the house for dinner.
Right.
There you go.
And we don't have that anymore, man. We don't have that anymore. And I think for me being I call myself an old head, I told somebody the other day that I still play pickup basketball. And for the first time I went and played pickup basketball at a I play there periodically, but the crowd is getting a little bit younger. and somebody referred to me the other day as Unc.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Unc? And this is the other one that I'm getting now. What up, OG? What's up, OG? And I'm like, I am officially old. I'm being called Unc.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's what I've noticed even in pickup game, the respect that these kids have for the game isn't there. This is what I want to ask you. You played in the 60s, 70s, you coached in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about today's game?
I don't like it because it's all geared through analytics. Now, here.
Hold on. I didn't say that.
Oh,
I didn't tell him to say that.
no.
But I've been saying that for the longest.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
I've been saying this for the longest. I'm gonna let a pioneer say it again for the people in the back that didn't hear. Say it again for the people in the back that didn't hear.
I don't like it because of analytics. The players that we just talked about. Bill Russell couldn't play today. Shaq couldn't play today. Kareem couldn't play today. Why? Because they couldn't shoot the three. All right. Have you ever big guys today don't even know how to post up? I've watched big guys 6'10", 6'11", have someone on them 6'2", can't even take them to the post.
Shoot the fadeaway.
Don't even know how to take them to the post. Now this thing, and I don't know where it started. I don't know where it came from. This thing of shooting threes and shooting the ball fast, a 20-point lead in the first half should never be a thing where by the end of the third quarter you got a basketball game.
Oh yeah, a 20-point lead in today's game is 3 trips,
No
4
lie.
trips up and down the court,
No lie.
and it's gonna all be threes.
Everything is going to be threes.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, now I'm coming from a coach's standpoint of view. You slow the game down. You run the clock on the offensive end if you have the lead, and make the other team get all yancy and crazy about playing defense. You get easy baskets. But if you come down the floor and you come across half court and you take 2 dribbles and you shoot a 3,
Making it easy on the defense.
all you're doing is playing defense.
Yeah.
You're playing defense because there's only 2 guys, well, 1 guy now that can do that. That's Steph Curry. See, that's the influence that he's had on the game.
And I was gonna ask you about that too.
And he's had that on the game. We had the 25th anniversary out at Golden State. I'll never forget. I'm sitting in the locker in the little cubicle next to him. I said, you know what? I said, you're a bad little, you know what? He said, yeah, I'm pretty good. I said, no. You're bad.
Yeah.
I said, you are going to change the game. This was a long time ago. You're going to change the game, which he has, by his ability to shoot the 3. But I said, if you played when I played, yeah, you would have scored off of me. But you know what? You wouldn't have played the next night. Because those 6 fouls I've given you,
I'm using all of them, and they're gonna be hard ones.
I'm gonna hurt you. Next time you see me, you're gonna be thinking, do I want to go through this?
Yeah.
Because, I just don't get shooting the three all the time. I see 15-foot jump shots being passed up. I see guys
Kicking out for the three.
Yeah, I see guys driving to the hoop who have the layup and kick it out for a three. And the other thing is they don't know how to run the floor in transition when it's a 3-on-2. They run right up on each other. So
Yeah,
I have no idea what they're teaching. I'd like to go to practice. I don't want to go to the game. I want to go to practice.
Yeah, because practice is indicative of how you play the game.
There you go. I want to see what they're teaching.
Yeah, that is a valid point. So the other thing that I'm hearing on social media is whenever we have these basketball discussions that today's basketball players are far superior skilled than players of. Look, don't shoot the messenger. They're superiorly further skilled than the early 2000s and the 90s. What say you about that?
Well, I can't. I'm going to go back to my era. We were older, better skilled. They draft 17, 18-year-old kids now. And what do? They give them a 3-4 year deal, and it's all about potential. They're trying to develop him, see if he can play at the professional level, and that's the difference in it. Is because you don't have men anymore. You go to the draft now, and somebody says there's a 22-year-old over here that we could draft. There's a 17-year-old over here.
He's too old.
There you go. The
He's
22. Forget him. We can't develop him. Well, we can develop the 17-year-old, and then the coach gets in. The coach tells him, "I don't know if he's ever going to be ready or not." Then the next thing that management will say, "Well, let's get us another coach who can develop him."
Yeah, that really is, and whenever I hear the discussion about today's players being more skilled than the 2000s and the 90s. I laugh at it because for me, these kids nowadays, all they want to do is shoot threes and dunk on somebody.
That's it.
And for me, a skill, this will let you know how if you have a skill. If you're not athletic and you're able to fundamentally play the game and be productive with a skill set, that doesn't mean that I can jump over it and I'm not the fastest person. And this is the easiest way for me to shut people up when they talk about how skilled today's game is compared to previous years.
Last 20 years.
The two players that are virtually unstoppable in today's game that have won multiple MVPs, these two players are probably looked at in today's game right now. They're probably looked at as two of the top 5 players in the league right now, and have been over the last 2 or 3 years. Luka Doncic and Joker. Those are 2000 and early 2000 players. They are throwback players from the early 2000s and the 90s. These guys are considered to be overweight. They couldn't jump over a stack of boots or a slice of cheese. They're probably at any given time on any game, whether competition or on their team, they are the slowest ones on their team. And today's skilled basketball players can't do anything with them too. They have their way on the court with today's basketball. Mm-hmm. For me, that is a skill. Luka Doncic and Jokic, they are skilled players. It's because they don't have to totally rely on their athletic ability to be able to be productive in today's game. And they're stat sheet fillers. Mm-hmm. Rebounds, assists, blocks. They really do it. They really do it all. And so when I hear people talk about today's era of basketball compared to previous years, last 20 years, 30 years, whatever, the biggest thing is what you said. These guys are, not only are they kids, because past years, these were grown men. Even coming into the league, they were grown men. But what we're not talking about is how frail these kids are now compared to how built these men were when they first came in the NBA. Could you imagine a Anthony Mason? Could you imagine a Charles Oakley, Dennis Rodman? I'm talking about like the early 2000s defensive stoppers
late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah.
What they would do with some of these frail kids.
Those two players that you just talked about they're highly skilled. I like watching Joker play because, like I said, he can't jump over a piece of cheese. Got the greatest hands I've ever seen for a big guy, and the softest hands I've ever seen. Okay, so I like watching him play, and he has an understanding of how to play. The only thing is, he's not playing against great big people.
No,
he's not playing against Shaq.
And that's why I said
he's
the
not
body
playing
types.
against Kareem.
Yeah.
He's not playing against a Moses.
Yeah.
He's not playing against those types of players who go back at him. And so therefore, what he does offensively is a plus for his game. Luka, on the other hand, is very skilled. I just don't know if he'll win a championship because he's never going to get into NBA shape in order to win one. If you noticed last year against the Celtics when he was in Dallas, that Tatum and Brown went at him, they took it personally.
Yeah.
Until he finally said, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to go, summer's here, let me go have some beer and I'll be all right. So, those are the types of things that we don't know about. This is where analytics screws up. Analytics cannot judge.
Hard. And that's, we live in such a statistic driven sports world now. Like we're enamored with stats. And for me, this era of basketball is the easiest era to get stats in.
Yeah.
We got guys that didn't even know who they were hitting 30, 40 points in a game. And so for me, like when LeBron got the scoring title, not because it was him, it was because of how he did it. When I think about Kareem over his career took 1 3. LeBron took over 3,000 threes in his career in order to beat Kareem's record. It could have been anybody. It could have been anybody that broke that record. But for me, I'm not impressed. If I go up, so if LeBron got the record and hit 3,000 threes, just think about Steph. If Steph had the start that LeBron had to his career, and mind you, it was only a couple years before we started hearing about Steph, so it wasn't like he was really far behind him. And I feel like as long as Steph's body hold up, I still think people aren't giving Steph the credit that they should be giving him.
No, they're not. And it's really interesting. The NBA does not officiate him being a superstar like they do. So there's some of their so-called superstars.
Yeah.
They let the defense, grab and shove him and
even on his shots.
Yes, and I find it fascinating because he's the one who changed the game.
Yeah,
he's the one.
Yeah, when you talk about a GOAT, for me, the characteristics of a GOAT, I feel I see them more in Steph than I do LeBron, because I factor in the fact that when you talk about somebody that has done more, Steph has changed the game. And he's not just a shooter. He's the best shooter we've ever seen.
Best shooter you ever seen in your lifetime.
Period. I mean, Ray Allen is my little god brother.
And that's great.
And he is a great shooter. But what people forget about Ray Allen is Ray Allen really wasn't a shooter his first 5 or 6 years in the league when he was with Milwaukee. He was Ray would dunk on your head. Like Ray would dunk on you first before he shoot a three. He just happened to have the whole package. And as he got into his prime is when he really started relying more on the three. But Steph is a monster. Steph can get to any spot on the court he wants to. He's just deadly behind that three. And it's not just 20 to 30 foot. That man is deadly from 35, 40 feet out. We won't see that. We won't see that. We'll see the characteristics of a LeBron. Mm-hmm. We will see that. The statistics and analytics of what LeBron has done, we won't see that. But we'll see another LeBron. We'll see a 6'9", 250, 260 guy because that's just the natural evolution of the game. The guards are getting bigger because I know even when I played, 6'2" was a big guard.
I was considered a big guard. I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
I'm a little guy now, but
yeah.
I was considered a big guard.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. I didn't think of it, but you are right. The thing about Steph and Clay when Clay was healthy, okay, they were by far the best shooters I've ever seen. But they shot every shot they took, as far as basketball was concerned, was a bad shot.
That's what I tell people.
Was a bad shot.
And that's actually a discussion people are having. Like, is Steph bad for the game?
Well, it's all. God gave him the ability to shoot the basketball, and God, he can shoot it. Cause I'm telling you, you don't know. I was telling you about the time that I was out there for the 25th anniversary of our ball club, and I went to shoot around, and he and Clay, after the shoot around, had to hit 100 shots, okay, before they left the gym.
Wow.
It took them 15 minutes, okay. Now
not just shoot 100.
No, hit 100.
They had to make 100 shots.
Now what I'm going to explain this to the people who are listening and understand basketball. They did not count the ones that hit the rim.
Whoa.
Even though they went in, they did not count it.
Oh.
It was all net. All net. And that's when I went up to him after it was over. I said, "Do you know how good you are?" Wow. I said, "You are really messing up the game because kids think this is easy." Oh no, it's not.
No, it's
easy.
not. When you talk about there's certain aspects of basketball, people think that just every aspect of basketball is a skill. No, it's not.
No.
There's only certain aspects of the game that are skills.
Mm-hmm.
Dribbling in itself is not a skill because anybody can get out and dribble basketball. But can you dribble and get to your spots? Is the skill in dribbling. And most people don't think about
shoot
that.
Off the dribble.
And that's the thing is, if you can stand in one place and shoot, that's not a skill. Being able to create your own shot is a skill. Mm-hmm. Being able to come off of a screen and shoot is a skill. Being able to shoot with defense coming at you is a skill. Yeah. So just the ability to shoot is not a skill.
And that's what we're missing today. Because everybody will tell you what, I can shoot the three. I can too. I'm 150 years old. I can too, but I don't know if I can make it.
Especially if be consistent with it.
Yes.
And the game has changed because we don't have any. We probably got three big men in the league now. Yeah. Everybody else is shooting threes, and that is the thing that divides the errors. And when people ask me, Tim, who are your favorite players? My favorite players are the players that can transcend errors. That if you took their current game now, and I don't mean you add weight to them, you add certain skills to them. If you took their game now, could they play in any era? And it's only a handful of players that you can think of that can play in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
All the great ones could. Tim, all the great ones can. You know,
I'm talking about from today's game.
Oh, from today's
yeah.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But
yeah.
all the great ones can. You know, the Russells, the Oscar Robinsons, the Jerry West,
Mhm.
you know, the Wilts. I mean, you know, they
They would be
Elvin
who they
Hayes.
were then.
Yes.
In latter eras.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They
That
really
that
were.
that and I that's why I challenge people because my passion is basketball. I played professionally, and so that's why I'm so passionate about it. And watching today's game just borderline disgusts me. It disgusts me because we gonna finish, and me and Butch could sit here and talk this all day long.
Yes,
but
we
it's hard to watch. And I liken it to WWE.
Oh, that's fixed. That's fixed. The winner,
right.
We already know who the winner is.
Yep.
We know the good guy from the bad guy. Come on.
Yeah.
And we don't in today's game.
Duh.
Butch,
Duh.
there might be a job out there for you. Don't. Hey, tread
Okay.
lightly. Tread lightly. You know they don't play that. They don't play that. You talking to, don't.
I hear you.
Okay, I shouldn't have opened Pandora's box.
Oh,
because,
I hear you.
Yeah, but I don't want to spoil it for you, but I take today's game for what it's worth. It's entertainment. It's no longer the pure aspect and the essence of basketball that we, as people that have played the game at a high level, are pioneers. It's not the game that we used to know. It is different, and when you get your mindset and understand that it is now entertainment, they have the game set up to where the score is driven up well into the 120s and 130s. It's designed like that because once NBA took on the name entertainment, it allowed them to, we'll say, have more hands on. That's when the gambling started coming into the arenas, and all of that. So for me, being a diehard, that broke my heart because now the game is tampered with. The pureness of the game that we know and love no longer exists. And I constantly have to remind myself about that when I'm having these discussions with this new wave of fans, and not get so passionate about it. I have to understand where it is right now. And we will never get back the brand of basketball that we know and love because it doesn't make money.
True.
It doesn't
True.
make money.
True.
And so I take it for what it's worth. And that's why I vicariously live my life of basketball, my passion of basketball through our pioneers such as Mr. Beard. That's why I watch old games. And to be able to have played in an era where it was Imano, the best player on the other team guarded the best player on the other team. It wasn't a bring somebody off the bench for this game that is a defensive specialist to guard the best player on the other team. No. Me being the best player on my team, I want to guard the best player on the other team. And we took it personal. Those days are gone. So I have to constantly remind myself to enjoy the entertainment that we have in today's game. Unfortunately, I pay a hefty ticket price to attend these games, so I get disgusted. And people wonder why, Tim, you're always giving away tickets, because I'm disgusted. But I love the opportunities that this game has afforded for myself, afforded for you, the entertainment value that it because the world is hurting, and I love the value that it brings to a hurting world in the way of entertainment, and I take it for simply that. But we need to do better when it comes to our pioneers, showing them love, having them part of every conversation. And I just want to thank Mr. Beard for coming on today's show.
Yes.
I purposely stay away from sports because of how passionate I get about it. That's why you don't see a bunch of podcasts of us talking sports, because Floyd does this. In case y'all don't know, when time is running down in the podcast, I look over Floyd's doing this. That lets me know I have about 5 to 10 minutes left to talk, and sometimes I give him a look off. When I'm talking about, I give him that look off. You know, when I'm talking about, because he done did it to me twice today, and I looked him off like I didn't see it. But I just want to give flowers to Mr. Beard and,
Yes, sir.
and what he has done, not only for the game, but for what he's done for the black community, what he continues to do for the black community. And I will let you know, Shoes Off Talk is working with Mr. Beard. He has shows that will be coming on. He's going to create his own podcast. That's why I didn't really want to dive too much into the history and all of that, is that I wanted him to tell his own story. I want him to tell his own story. And Shoes Off Part officially is a part of that, but I want you to tune in, and we will keep you up to date to what he and his wife has going on, because they are new to Arizona. They are here now. They picked out a place, and they're going back to New York. New York is one of the places where he played, and they're closing down shop there to move here. And so I jokingly told him and his wife, I have spare keys to the city. I'll give them one. I think I only have a couple. I didn't make too many copies, because not everybody is worthy of getting the keys to the city. But we're so blessed to have he and his wife grace the city of Phoenix with what they've been through, what they intend to educate the city of Phoenix on, and just their involvement in general, man. So I want you guys to find out their social medias. Butch, what's your social medias?
Right now, I'm really off of social media.
His wife.
It's my wife.
His wife. Where's she at? Where? We're about to get her in here, but I know we running over. Miss Lisa. Miss Lisa, could you come in here for a second? We're still live.
I knew I should have stayed in the hall.
We're still live. Here she is.
I knew I should
Here
have
she is.
stayed
Come
in the
on
hall.
in.
I'm in.
Come on in. Come on in. Y'all, I just want to let y'all know they've already told me that Mr. Beard isn't too tech savvy. So I believe even if he had social media, he would know what it is, because this young lady does all of that for him. But I let the audience know that you guys I'm giving you guys honorary keys to the city when you guys come back. And I'm doing any and everything that I possibly can in helping with the introduction to the city of Phoenix. But we as residents here, we look forward to you guys coming to make this your home. But I need you to tell these viewers how they can follow Mr. Beard, what you guys have going on. I told them that you have a podcast coming up that I'm gonna help you with, but how can they want to be in touch with you?
Well, I think effective as of tomorrow, Coach Butch Beard will have an Instagram account. Something that he has thought vehemently, but I think we need one now.
Yeah.
He's stuck.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah.
We got to.
Yeah.
I think he,
that would be good.
All right. Okay. I
the whole world now lives in this digital space, and it's great.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's done a lot of good. It's done a lot of bad. But you have to pick your message, and people have to be able to know what you stand for and what you want to talk about.
Yep.
And I come from public relations, and I know it started, I think, with 3 channels and a TV, and then it went to radio, and then it went to newspaper, and then it went to 700 channels, and now it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I don't need to see anybody eating a tuna sandwich. However, TikTok and Instagram, absolutely. And yeah, I think that there is, for my husband, who's the love of my life, my best friend, but my client, as well, there is a need to talk about the history of basketball, the people whose shoulders we all stand on and will continue to, and how we can make players, and this is the WNBA. Hey ladies, I'm talking to you too. How we can strive to be the best we can be in and out of a game. In real life, on the court, off the court, because as much as the world changes, it remains the same. And you have to be strong, and you have to be smart, and you have to be focused and connected.
Right.
So hopefully when we come back here full-time in September, that's the goal, is to be connected to this incredible community of people and this wonderful city and new friends that we've made. And Tim, thank you for opening your heart and your door. And on the ground, on the air, and wherever else we can be, because a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we want to do together.
Awesome.
You see who's the talker in the family. No doubt. This is the spokesman for the family. She declined our invitation for her to come on to the show.
This time I did.
Yes.
This time I did.
But stay tuned.
Yeah.
We will have the contact information for Mr. Beard. I'm just putting it out there. It wasn't no plan and no plot, but look, we need to get him in front of as many faces as possible to talk about the history and everything, because our kids and our current adults need to understand the things that they enjoy, why they enjoy it, and the people that came before them, what they went through for them to enjoy what they currently have. And you can't talk about the game without talking to a pioneer.
That's right.
I said this during the show, is like, whenever we talk about current players, they should be mentioned in the same voice with our pioneers. When we talk about the championships and the accomplishments, they need to be mentioned in the same voice with current and past players. Because without players like Mr. Beard, we wouldn't be enjoying the game. The game wouldn't be what it is today. I know they don't want to take credit for the current game, but I wouldn't either. But the basis and the foundation of the game that we enjoy is strictly because of them. And so we need to be more adamant, more diligent about giving them their flowers. And so what Shoes Off Talk is going to do, we're going to do our part in acknowledging our pioneers and giving them the platform and helping create the platform for them to do such things. So stay tuned. Miss Lisa and Mr. Beard, we are going to support them, and we ask that you give them your support as well in their endeavors as they venture into our lovely city of Phoenix. Just welcome them. And so we will be back with their contact information in a later show. We gotta get Mr. Beard up and running though. We gotta get him caught up with the times, but we got him. So we just want to thank all of our viewers and everyone for tuning in today's show. Like I said, we want to thank Mr. Beard and his lovely wife Lisa for joining us today. Wealth of information. Like I said, if you guys right now are trying to reach out to them, you can reach out to me and I will make the connection. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I always say, we don't take anyone's time for granted because we know that is a precious commodity. So any time that you give us, we're very appreciative of it. And like how we end all shows,
love, peace, and soul.